There's a quiet strength that grows inside us when we learn to carry our burdens with grace. Life will bring challenges, some small, some heavy, and the temptation to share every trouble with those around us can feel natural. But sometimes the wisest thing we can do is to hold back, not because we don't trust others, but because our deepest struggles are meant for a different kind of ear. When we tell everyone our problems, we often risk losing the peace that comes from placing our trust where it truly belongs. People are compassionate, but they are also imperfect. They can offer sympathy or advice, but they cannot carry the weight we are meant to entrust to something far greater than human understanding. Imagine a quiet moment, a place where you can pour out your heart freely, not to the crowd but in prayer, reflection, or solitude. It is there, in that sacred space, that healing begins. It is there that strength is renewed, not by the applause or pity of others, but by a calm assurance that you are not alone. Not telling people your problems does not mean hiding them forever or shutting out help when it is truly needed. It means discerning when to speak and when to simply lean into faith and patience. It means understanding that some battles are fought quietly, with courage that does not need validation. In those moments when the burden feels too heavy, remember that your worth is not defined by the trials you face or the sympathy you receive. Your value comes from who you are at your core, strong, loved, and capable of moving forward, even when the way is unclear. Choose carefully whom you share your heart with. Let your conversations be filled with hope and encouragement, not just the weight of your struggles. Let your life be a testimony of resilience, showing that while difficulties may come, they do not have the final word. There is power in silence, in prayer, and in the gentle holding of your own story until the time is right to share it. Trust that your journey is unfolding as it should, and that peace can be found even in the quietest moments. Hold your head high, keep your faith steady, and remember, not every problem needs an audience. Sometimes the greatest courage is found in facing them with quiet confidence and a heart anchored in hope. Inner strength is not something that we are simply born with or that appears overnight. It is a quiet, steady force that develops over time, often shaped and molded through the grace we receive in the midst of life's challenges. Grace, in this sense, is the gentle yet powerful support that sustains us when everything around us seems uncertain or difficult. It's not a strength born from our own effort alone, but a gift that nurtures us from within, allowing us to face hardship with courage and resilience. When life presses hard upon us, it is easy to feel overwhelmed or broken. Our natural instinct might be to resist or fight back with all our might, believing that strength means never showing weakness. But true strength is not about putting on a mask or hiding pain. Instead, it is about allowing grace to flow into our hearts and transform us quietly and profoundly. This grace often arrives in moments of stillness, when we pause to breathe, to pray, or to simply be, and it fills the cracks that worry and fear create. As we walk through seasons of difficulty, whether they are long or brief, the grace that sustains us becomes like a balm to our weary souls. It teaches us patience when our impatience threatens to take over. It offers peace when anxiety tries to steal our rest. And it instills hope when despair threatens to cloud our vision. This kind of inner strength grows not by ignoring our pain, but by inviting grace to meet us there, gently holding us until we can stand again. What's remarkable about this strength is that it doesn't always announce itself loudly. Often, it is quiet and subtle, like a small flame burning steadily in the darkness. It might show up as the calm voice in our heads that reminds us to keep going, the gentle nudge to forgive, or the soft reassurance that we are not alone. Over time, these small moments add up, forming a foundation of resilience that carries us through the hardest days. Grace also shapes the way we respond to setbacks and disappointments. Instead of allowing failure to define us or hard circumstances to embitter us, grace helps us see beyond the immediate pain. It opens our eyes to the lessons hidden within struggle and the opportunities for growth disguised as hardship. This perspective transforms our inner world, giving us strength not only to endure but to emerge stronger and wiser. There is also a humility in this kind of strength. It recognizes that we do not have all the answers, and that we cannot control everything around us. Instead of striving in vain for complete control, we learn to surrender to the flow of life, trusting that grace will guide us even when the path is unclear. This surrender is not a sign of weakness but of deep courage. a willingness to lean on something greater than ourselves. One of the most beautiful aspects of grace is how it connects us to others. Inner strength grown through grace doesn't isolate us, it draws us into community. When we are supported by grace, we find ourselves more able to extend kindness and compassion to those around us who are struggling. Our own experiences of receiving grace make us sensitive to the pain of others, and this empathy becomes another source of strength. We realize that strength is not only about standing firm, but also about reaching out and lifting others as we ourselves have been lifted. In practical terms, cultivating this grace-filled inner strength often involves daily choices. It might be choosing to start the day with a moment of reflection or prayer, seeking a sense of peace before the world demands our attention. It could be a decision to pause when frustration rises, taking a deep breath and reminding ourselves that grace is available to meet us in the tension. It might also mean surrounding ourselves with people who encourage us to grow in patience, kindness, and hope. This inner strength is also nurtured by the stories we tell ourselves. When we face difficulty, the narrative in our minds can either weaken us or empower us. Grace invites us to replace harsh, critical thoughts with words of encouragement and truth. It reminds us that we are more than our mistakes, and that every new day offers a fresh chance to begin again. This renewing of our minds helps us build resilience that is not brittle but flexible, able to bend without breaking. At times, it can be tempting to seek quick fixes or to look for strength only in external achievements or approval. But the inner strength that grace develops is different. It is steady and enduring, rooted in an understanding of our true worth and the unshakable support that surrounds us. It does not depend on circumstances or the approval of others, which means it remains intact even when everything else seems to fall apart. There is also a profound peace that accompanies this kind of strength. When grace is at work within us, we no longer feel the need to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders alone. We can lay down our fears, doubts, and worries and rest in the assurance that we are held and cared for. This peace is not the absence of difficulty, but a deep calm that sustains us through it. In moments when the future looks uncertain and the road ahead is shrouded in shadows, grace whispers courage to our hearts. It reminds us that we have faced storms before, and that the same strength that carried us then is available to us now. This confidence is not boastful but humble, a quiet certainty that no matter what comes, we are never truly alone. To live with this kind of grace-filled inner strength means embracing the journey with all its ups and downs. It means allowing ourselves to be shaped by life's challenges rather than hardened by them. It means holding on to hope even when the way forward is unclear and trusting that each step, no matter how small, is part of a larger story unfolding. Ultimately, inner strength grown through grace is a gift that transforms not just how we endure life's difficulties, but how we live each day. It gives us the courage to face what is hard, the patience to wait for what is healing, and the faith to believe in a future filled with promise. It is the quiet power that sustains us, nurtures us, and enables us to keep moving forward with hope and confidence. Trust is a precious and delicate thing. It forms the foundation of our relationships and the way we navigate the world. Yet, there comes a time when we realize that trusting only in people, no matter how close or well-meaning they are, can leave us vulnerable to disappointment. People are wonderfully compassionate and caring, but they are also human, limited by their own struggles, weaknesses, and understanding. This truth invites us to look beyond human support and place our deepest trust in something greater, something unchanging and unfailing. When we rely solely on the opinions, encouragement, or solutions of others, we risk building our security on shifting sands. Life's storms can shake those foundations, leaving us feeling let down or even abandoned. It is natural to want to share our problems and seek comfort from friends or family, but when we look to them as the ultimate source of strength or answers, we set ourselves up for frustration. People may listen with kindness, but they cannot always carry our burdens for us. Their capacity to help is limited by their own life circumstances and understanding. There is a profound freedom in learning to trust beyond people, to anchor our hearts in a steady source of hope and peace that does not depend on human perfection. This kind of trust invites us to surrender the need for constant reassurance from others and instead cultivate a deeper confidence rooted in faith. It means recognizing that while people can support us along the way, the ultimate comfort and guidance come from a source that is infinite and steadfast. Trust beyond people teaches us patience. It reminds us that answers and relief might not come on our timetable or in the ways we expect. Sometimes, the waiting period is a time of growth and preparation, shaping our character and deepening our resilience. When we place our trust in something beyond the immediate, we find the strength to endure uncertainty without losing hope. This trust also frees us from the need to control outcomes through others. When we lean too heavily on human help, we may feel anxious or disappointed if things do not go as planned. But when our trust is placed beyond the fragile hands of human circumstance, we can let go of the illusion of control and rest in a quiet assurance that the bigger picture is unfolding as it should. This surrender is not a passive giving up, but an active choice to believe that there is purpose and meaning even in hardship. Another beautiful aspect of trusting beyond people is the peace it brings amid loneliness or isolation. At times, we may find ourselves without the company or understanding we long for. In those moments, when human voices grow silent or fail to comfort, the deeper trust becomes a lifeline. It reminds us that we are never truly alone, and that the source of our strength and hope is always present, listening and caring in ways no one else can. This deeper trust does not mean we reject human connection or support. Rather, it places those relationships within a wider context. We can appreciate and receive the kindness of others, while knowing that our ultimate refuge is not in their hands, but in a power beyond. This perspective guards us against becoming overly dependent or losing our sense of peace when human support falters. In practical terms, trusting beyond people often means cultivating spiritual habits and perspectives that nurture this deeper confidence. It could be moments of quiet prayer, meditation, or reflection that remind us to release our worries and place them where they belong. It might be reading words that inspire faith and courage, or surrounding ourselves with reminders of this unchanging trust. These practices help retrain our minds and hearts to lean away from anxiety about others' limitations and toward a steadier foundation. Trusting beyond people also transforms how we handle disappointment. Instead of allowing unmet expectations to steal our joy or shake our faith, we learn to accept that human help is imperfect and transient. We become more resilient, able to bounce back because our hope is not tied to fluctuating circumstances, but anchored in something eternal. This kind of trust nurtures humility. It reminds us that we do not have all the answers and that we need help beyond what any person can give. It invites us into a posture of openness, ready to receive support when it comes, but also willing to stand firm when it does not. Humility and trust frees us from pride or bitterness, allowing grace to flow freely in and through us. There is also a transformative power in trusting beyond people. It changes how we relate to the world. When we are grounded in this deeper trust, we can engage with others from a place of peace rather than neediness. We become less anxious about others' opinions or reactions, because our sense of worth and security comes from a higher place. This freedom allows us to love and serve more freely, offering support without being overwhelmed by our own fears. In moments of crisis or despair, this trust becomes a lifeline. It calls us back from the edge of hopelessness, reminding us that even when human help is unavailable or insufficient, there is an unfailing source of strength. This assurance can be the difference between surrendering to despair and finding the courage to keep moving forward. Trusting beyond people also invites us to see challenges in a new light. Instead of viewing difficulties solely as obstacles, we begin to understand them as opportunities to deepen our reliance on this greater source. Each trial becomes a chance to grow in faith and resilience, to learn patience and perseverance. This shift in perspective transforms suffering from something to be feared into something that shapes and strengthens us. It is important to recognize that this deeper trust develops over time. It is not a quick fix or an instant solution, but a journey of growing faith and surrender. There will be moments of doubt and struggle, moments when the pull to depend solely on human comfort is strong. Yet, each step taken toward trusting beyond people builds a stronger foundation that sustains us in every season of life. This trust does not remove the reality of pain or struggle, but it changes our experience of it. With this trust, pain becomes bearable, and struggle becomes a shared journey rather than a crushing burden. It infuses us with hope that carries us through the darkest valleys and lights the way when the path is unclear. Ultimately, trusting beyond people opens the door to a life marked by peace, resilience, and courage. It frees us from the weight of needing others to fix what only a higher power can heal. It invites us into a relationship of faith that sustains us no matter what comes our way, giving us a steady heart amid life's uncertainties. This deeper trust is a gift, a refuge and strength that empowers us to face each day with quiet confidence. It reminds us that while people may falter or fail, the source of true hope and security remains constant, faithful, and unchanging. When we learn to place our trust beyond people, we find a peace that surpasses understanding and a courage that carries us through every trial. In the fast pace of life, filled with constant noise and endless demands, solitude and prayer often become overlooked treasures. Yet, they hold a unique and profound value that can transform the way we experience the world and ourselves. Solitude is not merely being alone. It is a sacred space where we step away from distractions and business to reconnect with what truly matters. Prayer, in turn, is the intimate conversation that fills this space, a way to open our hearts and minds beyond the surface, reaching towards something deeper and more sustaining. The value of solitude lies in its power to quiet the clamor of daily life. In solitude, the restless thoughts, worries, and pressures that crowd our minds begin to settle. It is in these moments of quiet that clarity often emerges, clarity about our emotions, our desires, and the path ahead. Without solitude, our lives can become a chaotic swirl of tasks and voices, leaving little room for self-reflection or spiritual renewal. By embracing solitude, we give ourselves permission to pause, to breathe, and to listen, not just to the world around us, but to the still, small voice within. Prayer enriches this solitude by turning it into a dialogue rather than silence. It is the sacred act of reaching beyond ourselves, expressing our fears, hopes, and gratitude, and inviting guidance and comfort. Prayer is not always about asking for things. It is often about being present in the moment, offering our authentic selves, and receiving peace that surpasses understanding. Through prayer, solitude becomes a place of connection, connecting us to the divine, to our inner wisdom, and to a source of strength that transcends our human limitations. The practice of solitude and prayer offers a refuge from the overwhelming demands of life. In a world that constantly calls for our attention, taking time for these practices can feel countercultural or even selfish, yet they are essential acts of self-care and spiritual nourishment. Solitude allows us to recharge, to regain perspective, and to restore balance. Prayer invites us to lay down burdens that are too heavy to carry alone, and to find reassurance in a power greater than ourselves. Beyond restoration, solitude and prayer foster deep transformation. When we consistently carve out time for these practices, we begin to see changes in how we respond to life's challenges. Our patience grows, our anxieties lessen, and our capacity for hope expands. This transformation happens not because the world around us has changed, but because the lens through which we see it has been renewed. Solitude and prayer open our hearts to grace, enabling us to face difficulties with a calmness and strength that might otherwise be elusive. Moreover, solitude cultivates self-awareness. In the quiet moments away from external influences, we have the chance to confront our true feelings and thoughts honestly. It is here that we can examine our motivations, acknowledge our weaknesses, and recognize areas in need of growth. This self-awareness, nurtured through solitude, becomes the foundation for genuine change and healing. Without such reflection, we risk living on autopilot, reacting to circumstances rather than responding with intention. Prayer, paired with this self-awareness, becomes a source of guidance and wisdom. As we lay bare our hearts in prayer, we open ourselves to insights that may not come through logic or external advice alone. Prayer invites a humility that acknowledges we do not have all the answers and allows us to trust in a wisdom beyond ourselves. This openness can lead to moments of clarity and peace, helping us discern the next steps when faced with difficult decisions or uncertain futures. The value of solitude and prayer also lies in their ability to deepen our relationship with the divine. In the midst of life's noise and distractions, these practices provide intentional space to encounter a loving presence. This encounter is often marked by a profound sense of being known and loved unconditionally. In solitude, free from the need to perform or impress, we find acceptance. In prayer, we find a voice that is heard and a comfort that restores. This deepening relationship becomes a source of ongoing strength and encouragement. Another aspect of this value is the way solitude and prayer enhance our empathy and connection with others. When we take time to nurture our own hearts and spirits, we become more capable of extending kindness and understanding to those around us. The peace and clarity gained in solitude ripple outward, influencing our interactions in ways that promote patience, compassion, and love. Prayer often includes lifting others up in concern and hope, reminding us that while solitude is important, we are also part of a larger community. It's important to remember that solitude and prayer look different for each person. Some find them in early morning stillness, others in quiet walks, or in the pages of a journal. Prayer can be spoken aloud, whispered silently, or expressed through music or art. The key is the intentionality behind these moments, the choice to step away from noise and distraction, and to enter a space where heart and spirit can be renewed. The journey into solitude and prayer can sometimes be challenging. The mind resists quiet and seeks distraction. The heart may struggle with doubt or feel restless. Yet, these challenges are part of the process, invitations to deeper commitment and trust. Over time, what once felt uncomfortable can become a cherished rhythm, a lifeline in seasons of joy and sorrow alike. In this sacred space of solitude and prayer, we discover that we do not walk alone. Though the world may press in from all sides, we find a refuge that cannot be shaken. It is a place where fears are calmed, burdens lightened, and hope restored. The value of these practices lies not only in what they offer in the moment, but in how they shape our entire journey, encouraging us to live with greater peace, purpose, and connection. By regularly embracing solitude and prayer, we invite a transformation that touches every part of our being. We become more grounded amid uncertainty, more compassionate amid hardship, and more joyful amid everyday life. These moments of quiet and communion nurture a strength that sustains us through the seasons, a light that guides us forward even when the path is unclear. Ultimately, the value of solitude and prayer is found in the invitation to return to ourselves, return to a loving presence, and return to a deeper way of living. It is in these moments that life is renewed, hearts are healed, and souls find rest. Knowing when and how to share our struggles is a delicate art that requires discernment, a wisdom that grows with experience, reflection, and a deep understanding of ourselves and others. Discernment in sharing means more than simply deciding whether to speak or stay silent. It involves carefully weighing the timing, the audience, the purpose, and the potential impact of revealing our innermost challenges. It is a practice rooted in both self-awareness and respect for those we might confide in, allowing us to protect our well-being while fostering genuine connection. Life brings many moments when the weight of our problems feels unbearable, and the natural response is to reach out. Human beings are created for relationship. We need support, encouragement, and sometimes simply a listening ear. But discernment reminds us that not every problem needs to be shared with everyone we meet, nor at every stage of our journey. Some struggles require privacy, allowing space for healing and understanding to unfold within us before they are spoken aloud. This is not about hiding or denial, but about honoring the process of growth and the sanctity of our inner lives. When we discern what to share, we begin by understanding our own needs and intentions. Are we seeking sympathy, advice, or simply to be heard? Sometimes we may long for connection, but at other times, sharing might leave us feeling exposed or vulnerable in ways we are not ready to face. Discernment calls us to pause and reflect. Is this the right moment for me to open up? Will sharing this help me process, or might it deepen my pain or confusion? These questions guide us towards sharing that is healing rather than harmful. The choice of whom to share with is equally important. Not everyone is equipped or willing to carry the weight of our burdens. Some listeners may respond with judgment, misunderstanding, or gossip, which can wound rather than help. Discernment encourages us to seek out those who have proven trustworthy, compassionate, and discreet, people who will hold our stories with care and respect. It may be a close friend, a mentor, or a counselor, someone whose presence brings safety and encouragement rather than added stress. Timing is another vital element in the discernment of sharing. Sometimes the urgency of our emotions pushes us to speak immediately, but discernment invites us to consider whether we are in a calm, centered place or if our feelings might overwhelm the conversation. Waiting for a moment when we can communicate clearly and thoughtfully often leads to better understanding and support. This doesn't mean suppressing our feelings indefinitely, but rather choosing moments that foster constructive dialogue and healing. Discernment also involves recognizing the impact our sharing might have on others. While we may need to express our pain, it is helpful to consider whether the listener is in a place to receive it without harm. For instance, sharing deep struggles with someone who is also carrying heavy burdens may not be helpful for either party. Sensitivity to others' emotional capacities is an important part of wise sharing, allowing us to balance our need for expression with compassion for those we turn to. There is power in boundaries, and discernment helps us establish them. Boundaries protect our emotional health by defining what we share, how much we reveal, and when we choose to open our hearts. They keep us from oversharing in ways that can leave us feeling drained or regretful. Healthy boundaries are not walls that isolate us, but fences that safeguard our well-being while allowing meaningful connection. They help us preserve our dignity and create space for healing before and after sharing. At the heart of discerning and sharing is a deep respect for the sacredness of our own stories. Our struggles are part of our journey and carry lessons, growth, and healing. Sharing them wisely honors that sacredness, allowing our vulnerabilities to be expressed in ways that foster healing rather than harm. It also invites us to consider how much of our story is meant for public knowledge and how much is best kept close until we are ready to share more broadly. Discernment also teaches us that silence can be a powerful response. Choosing not to share at certain times is not weakness or avoidance, but a sign of strength and wisdom. Silence allows us to process, pray, reflect, and gain perspective. It offers the chance to see our challenges in a new light and to find peace within ourselves before inviting others into our story. Sometimes, what we hold quietly in our hearts is where transformation begins. There are also times when discernment guides us to share more openly, especially when our testimony can encourage, inspire, or help others facing similar struggles. Sharing in these moments becomes an act of courage and service. But even then, discernment helps us decide how much to reveal and what tone to use, ensuring that our story uplifts without overwhelming or causing unintended pain. Another important aspect of discernment is the recognition that our ability to share evolves over time. What feels too raw or painful to speak about now may become a source of strength and healing later. Growth in discernment means learning to listen to our inner wisdom about when to open up and when to hold back. It also means forgiving ourselves when we misjudge and recognizing that each experience deepens our capacity for wise sharing. Discernment in sharing nurtures trust in relationships. When we carefully choose what and when to share, we build connections based on authenticity and mutual respect. Others come to know that when we speak, it is with intention and care, which fosters deeper listening and support. This creates a safe space where vulnerability is honored and not exploited, allowing love and healing to flourish. Moreover, discernment protects us from becoming defined by our problems. While sharing is important, it's equally vital that we don't allow our struggles to overshadow who we are or the fullness of our lives. Discernment helps us balance honesty with hope, ensuring that our sharing points not only to pain but also to growth, resilience, and the promise of healing. Ultimately, discernment in sharing is an ongoing journey, one that calls us to be gentle with ourselves and others. It invites us to listen deeply, to be patient, and to trust that when the time is right, our stories will be heard in ways that bring comfort and connection. By practicing discernment, we protect our hearts and honor the sacredness of our experiences, creating space for healing, hope, and authentic relationships to grow. Self-worth is one of the most essential gifts we carry within us, yet it is often the most vulnerable aspect of our inner lives. It is easy to let our troubles and hardships define us, shaping how we see ourselves and influencing our sense of value. But true self-worth reaches far beyond the difficulties we face. It is a profound truth that our value is not determined by our problems, failures, or the judgments of others, but by something far deeper, our inherent dignity and the core of who we are. When troubles come, and they inevitably do, they have a way of clouding our perspective. Pain, disappointment, and struggle can make us feel unworthy or broken. We may begin to believe that because we are struggling, we are less valuable or less deserving of love and respect. This lie can take root quickly and shape the way we relate to ourselves and the world. Yet, it is important to recognize that these feelings, though real and painful, do not reflect the truth of our worth. Self-worth beyond troubles means embracing the understanding that we are more than our circumstances. Our value is not conditional or dependent on success, approval, or the absence of difficulty. It is constant and unwavering, rooted in our identity and the very essence of our being. This perspective frees us from the exhausting task of trying to prove ourselves or earn acceptance through achievement or the approval of others. To cultivate this deeper sense of worth, we must first learn to separate our identity from our experiences. While it is natural to be affected by hardship, we are not defined by it. Our struggles are part of our story, but not the whole story. They are chapters that teach us, shape us, and sometimes humble us, but they do not diminish the value of the person living through them. Recognizing this allows us to hold our troubles with compassion, rather than letting them overshadow our sense of self. This understanding invites a gentle kindness toward ourselves. When we face setbacks or failures, instead of harsh self-criticism, we can respond with grace and patience. We learn to speak to ourselves as we would to a dear friend, offering encouragement, forgiveness, and hope. This shift in self-talk nurtures a healthy self-worth that is resilient, able to withstand life's storms without crumbling under their weight. Another important aspect of self-worth beyond troubles is the awareness that worthiness is inherent, not earned. It is not something to be gained by meeting certain standards or lost by falling short. This means that even in our weakest moments, when we feel broken or inadequate, our value remains intact. This truth is both liberating and comforting, providing a foundation of security that does not depend on external conditions. Understanding our worth beyond troubles also changes how we relate to others. When we recognize our own value, we are less likely to tolerate disrespect or neglect. We learn to set boundaries that protect our dignity and to seek relationships that honor and uplift us. This self-respect becomes a beacon that guides us toward healthier connections and away from those that diminish our sense of worth. This deeper self-worth also encourages us to embrace vulnerability with courage. Knowing that our value is not tied to perfection or success allows us to be honest about our struggles without fear of rejection or shame. We become willing to ask for help, share our stories, and receive support because we know that doing so does not lessen who we are. Instead, it affirms our humanity and opens the door to healing and growth. Moreover, self-worth beyond troubles fosters resilience. It anchors us in a sense of purpose and hope that is not shaken by temporary setbacks. When we understand that our worth is constant, we can face challenges with a steady heart, confident that our value is not diminished by failure or pain. This resilience empowers us to keep moving forward, learning, and growing despite difficulties. At the same time, this understanding humbles us. It reminds us that worth is not something to boast about or compare, but something to cherish quietly and deeply. It calls us to recognize the worth in others as well, fostering empathy and compassion. When we see ourselves as inherently valuable, we are more inclined to extend grace to those around us, recognizing that everyone carries their own struggles beneath the surface. Nurturing self-worth beyond troubles often requires intentional practice. It may begin with simple affirmations, reminders that our value is not defined by circumstances, but by who we are at our core. It may involve surrounding ourselves with people who affirm and respect us, and distancing from voices that diminish our confidence. It can also include spiritual or reflective practices that reconnect us with the truth of our identity and worth. This journey is not always easy. Old wounds and negative beliefs about ourselves may resurface, tempting us to doubt our value. But each time we choose to affirm our worth beyond troubles, we strengthen the foundation of our self-esteem. Over time, this foundation grows firmer, enabling us to stand strong in the face of life's challenges. Importantly, this sense of worth is not prideful or self-centered. It is a humble recognition of our place in the world and our connection to something greater than ourselves. It allows us to acknowledge our strengths and weaknesses without fear or denial. This balanced view encourages growth and healing rather than stagnation or despair. Self-worth beyond troubles also invites us to live with greater freedom. When we no longer tie our value to achievement or approval, we can pursue our goals and dreams with less fear of failure or judgment. We can take risks, make mistakes, and learn without the crushing burden of feeling not enough. This freedom opens the door to authentic living, where we embrace who we are and the journey we are on, with all its imperfections. In times of doubt or hardship, returning to the truth of our inherent worth can be a powerful anchor. It reminds us that we are beloved and significant, not because of what we do or don't do, but simply because we are. This realization brings comfort and strength, helping us face each day with renewed hope and courage. Ultimately, embracing self-worth beyond troubles transforms how we experience life. It changes the story we tell ourselves, from one of limitation and failure to one of value and possibility. It allows us to see ourselves through a lens of love and acceptance, opening the way for healing, growth, and joy. This deeper sense of worth is a wellspring of strength that sustains us through every season and invites us to live fully and courageously. Choosing confidence wisely is a crucial part of protecting our emotional and spiritual well-being. The people we allow into our inner circles, those with whom we share our deepest thoughts, fears, and struggles, can either uplift and encourage us, or if chosen poorly, can lead to misunderstanding, betrayal, or further pain. Wise selection of confidence involves discernment, careful consideration of character, trustworthiness, empathy, and the ability to respect boundaries. Human beings are inherently social creatures, designed for connection and community. Sharing our hearts with others is a natural and healthy need, but the quality of those relationships makes all the difference. Not everyone is equipped to handle our vulnerabilities with the care they deserve. Some may listen superficially, others may judge or gossip, and still others might unintentionally add to our burdens by responding with criticism or indifference. Thus, choosing confidence wisely is essential to ensure that our shared stories are met with kindness, understanding, and support. One of the first qualities to look for in a confidant is trustworthiness. This means finding someone who respects the confidentiality of what is shared, honoring the sacredness of vulnerability without exposing it to harm. Trustworthy confidants hold our stories with discretion, creating a safe space where we can express ourselves freely without fear of betrayal. This safety is the foundation upon which healing and growth can begin. Equally important is empathy, the ability to listen deeply and respond with compassion. A true confidant listens not just to the words, but to the heart behind them. They seek to understand rather than judge, offering presence and encouragement. Empathy provides the balm that soothes wounds, allowing us to feel seen and valued even in our brokenness. Without empathy, sharing can feel like an empty or even harmful exercise. Respect for boundaries is another key characteristic. A wise confidant knows that our sharing has limits, and they honor our pace and readiness. They do not push for more than we are willing to give or pressure us into revealing what we are not prepared to share. This respect creates a relationship of mutual safety and trust, where vulnerability is honored without pressure. Choosing confidence wisely also means considering the maturity and stability of the person. Life is full of ups and downs, and not everyone has the emotional resources to support others during their difficult times. It is important to seek out those who have demonstrated resilience, wisdom, and a balanced perspective, people who can offer grounding rather than adding chaos or confusion. A stable confidant provides a steady presence, helping us find clarity and hope amidst uncertainty. Another aspect to consider is the alignment of values. While differences enrich relationships, sharing deeply often requires a certain level of shared understanding or respect for each other's beliefs and priorities. When values align, communication flows more freely, and there is a stronger foundation for mutual encouragement and growth. This alignment fosters trust and reduces the risk of misunderstandings or conflict that can arise when deeply personal topics are shared. Wise choice also involves recognizing the reciprocal nature of confidences. Healthy relationships are balanced, with both parties offering and receiving support. A one-sided dynamic, where one person always takes the role of listener or bearer of burdens, can lead to exhaustion and imbalance. Choosing confidants who also feel comfortable sharing their lives creates a richer, more supportive connection that benefits both. It is important to acknowledge that sometimes even well-chosen confidants may fall short. People are imperfect and relationships require grace and forgiveness. However, discernment helps us recognize when a relationship is harmful or draining, prompting us to seek healthier connections. It also teaches us to cultivate a network of confidence rather than relying on a single individual, ensuring that we have multiple sources of support. In practical terms, choosing confidence wisely might begin with small steps, sharing less vulnerable thoughts first and observing the response. Does the person listen attentively? Do they respond with kindness and understanding? Do they keep what is shared confidential? These observations can guide us in deepening or limiting our level of sharing over time. Wise confidence often become pillars in our lives, providing encouragement during dark times and celebrating with us in moments of joy. They offer perspective when our vision is clouded by pain or confusion, reminding us of our strengths and worth. Their presence is a gift that nurtures resilience and hope, reinforcing the truth that we do not have to carry our burdens alone. Choosing confidence wisely also protects our emotional energy. Sharing deeply can be draining, and when done with the wrong person, it can leave us feeling exposed and vulnerable without relief. When we select those who uplift and support us, sharing becomes a source of healing and renewal rather than exhaustion. This careful stewardship of our emotional resources is an act of self-love and wisdom. Furthermore, wise confidence can challenge us gently when needed. True friends do not simply offer comfort but also speak truth with love. They help us see areas where we might grow or where our perspective could be broadened. This constructive honesty, given in a spirit of care, enriches our journey and helps us become the best versions of ourselves. Choosing confidence wisely is also an expression of faith and hope. It reflects the belief that we are worthy of genuine love and support, and that such relationships are possible. This hope encourages us to seek connection, even when past experiences might have left us weary or hurt. It inspires courage to be vulnerable and authentic, trusting that the right people will come alongside us. The process of choosing confidence wisely is ongoing. As we grow and change, our needs and the people we trust may also shift. What served us well at one stage of life may no longer be enough or appropriate. Discernment invites us to continually evaluate our relationships, nurturing those that nourish our souls and gently releasing those that do not. Ultimately, the wisdom to choose confidence wisely protects our hearts and supports our growth. It ensures that when we share our deepest selves, we do so in a space of safety, compassion, and respect. This careful choice cultivates relationships that heal, encourage, and strengthen, reminding us that while vulnerability is a risk, it can also be a doorway to profound connection and transformation. There is a remarkable power found in quiet courage, a strength that does not shout or demand attention, but moves steadily and resolutely through the challenges of life. Quiet courage is often unseen, unnoticed by the world around us, yet it carries an immense weight. It is the courage that allows us to face fear, pain, and uncertainty without needing to broadcast our struggles or seek external validation. This kind of courage is humble but mighty, gentle but unyielding, and it transforms lives from the inside out. Unlike the loud declarations of bravery often celebrated in stories or the dramatic gestures that capture public acclaim, quiet courage is subtle. It dwells in the small, everyday decisions to keep going when giving up feels easier. It is found in the moments when we choose patience over anger, forgiveness over bitterness, hope over despair. This courage is not born from a sudden surge of adrenaline but from a deep, steady reservoir of faith, resilience, and inner strength. One of the most profound aspects of quiet courage is that it often goes unnoticed by others. Those who exhibit it may not receive applause or recognition. They may struggle in silence, carry burdens unseen, and endure trials without complaint. Yet, it is this very invisibility that makes quiet courage so powerful. It is not motivated by the desire for praise but by an inner conviction that persevering is the right and necessary path. This conviction sustains them when external support wanes, and when the road ahead is shrouded in uncertainty. Quiet courage also requires a profound trust that strength will be provided for the day's challenges, and that healing will come in time. It is a courageous choice to believe in something beyond what the eyes can see, to hold on to hope even when circumstances suggest otherwise. This trust is often nurtured by faith, by the assurance that we are not alone, and that there is a purpose even in suffering. Quiet courage embraces this mystery, walking forward step by step without full understanding, yet with confidence. This kind of courage is deeply connected to humility. It recognizes our limitations and does not pretend to have all the answers or to be invincible. Instead, quiet courage acknowledges weakness and vulnerability, but chooses to move forward despite them. This humility allows us to lean on sources of strength beyond ourselves, whether that be faith, community, or inner wisdom, rather than relying solely on our own abilities. It is a courage that admits need and asks for help when necessary. Quiet courage also manifests in how we respond to everyday challenges. It is present in the parent who patiently cares for a sick child day after day, in the person who faces rejection yet continues to seek connection, in the individual who battles an illness with dignity and hope. These acts may seem ordinary, but they are profound demonstrations of courage because they require perseverance without guarantee of immediate relief or success. There is also a power in quiet courage to influence others in ways that loud declarations cannot. It inspires through example rather than exhortation. Those who witness quiet courage often feel drawn to it because it is authentic and sustainable. It shows that courage is not the absence of fear or struggle, but the choice to move forward regardless. This silent strength invites others to find their own courage, creating ripples of resilience and hope in communities and relationships. Quiet courage is closely tied to the idea of endurance. It sustains us through prolonged trials when the initial burst of energy has faded and the outcome remains uncertain. Endurance is not merely surviving, but living with purpose and intention amid hardship. Quiet courage fuels this endurance by providing a steady rhythm, a daily commitment to face what comes with grace and resolve. This courage is also a source of peace. By choosing to face challenges quietly and steadfastly, we can avoid unnecessary conflict or drama that might drain our energy. Quiet courage grounds us in calmness and steadiness, helping us to navigate difficult emotions and situations with clarity and composure. It is a courage that listens more than it speaks, observes more than it reacts, and responds with thoughtful action rather than impulsive reaction. Furthermore, quiet courage fosters hope. It is the quiet voice inside that whispers, "This too shall pass," and "There is light beyond the darkness." Even when the path is unclear and the future uncertain, quiet courage holds on to hope as a lifeline. This hope is not naive optimism, but a deeply rooted expectation that good can emerge from hardship. It sustains us when despair threatens to overwhelm and gives us the strength to keep walking forward. Importantly, quiet courage does not mean silence or passivity in the face of injustice or wrongdoing. Instead, it often involves speaking or acting in ways that are measured, intentional, and impactful without resorting to noise or aggression. It is the courage to stand firm in convictions with gentleness and respect, to confront challenges without causing unnecessary harm, and to seek reconciliation even when it is difficult. This courage is a form of resilience that honors the whole person, their struggles, their hopes, and their journey. It recognizes that strength is not about never falling, but about rising again each time with renewed determination. Quiet courage is patient with the process of growth and healing, understanding that transformation takes time and that setbacks are part of the journey. In many ways, quiet courage is a gift we give ourselves. It allows us to live authentically, embracing vulnerability without shame and moving forward without fear. It frees us from the need to prove ourselves to others, grounding our worth not in external validation but in inner conviction. This freedom nurtures a sense of peace and wholeness that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Ultimately, quiet courage is a testament to the human spirit's capacity to endure and thrive despite adversity. It is the gentle but persistent heartbeat of hope that sustains us through life's storms. Though it may not always be visible or celebrated, it is among the most powerful forces within us, quiet, steady, and unyielding.